Hey, this is Tracy here, and I've got my assistant Lauren with me. I'm redoing some of our samples of our different resins, so I'm going to show you how to do Amazing Glaze first. So this is what it looks like. It's actually a clear embossing powder. This one uses heat to set the resin. It's little pellets of plastic. And we've already glued down our piece of paper with our name and let it dry. We just use glue stick. And so now Lauren's going to take some of the Amazing Glaze. And you can just kind of dome it in the middle. You don't even really have to spread it out, because it's going to do that itself when you put it in the oven. And if you are concerned that it's not going to be enough, that looks like it's going to be too much, but by the time it melts and fills the space, I think it'll be just fine. You can always shoot for less and do a second round in the oven. So what we're going to do is we've got our toaster oven here, and we've set it at 275. And it's nice to just put it on a little aluminum foil covered tray. That way you can handle it, and also you're not getting melted plastic on a nice pan. So we're just going to let that sit. It's not going to take long, just a few minutes. Now it's only been a few minutes, and if you look around the edges of the Amazing Glaze, it's starting to melt. It kind of looks like sugar melting. And it's just going to start going. And you just kind of keep an eye on it. You don't want to walk away from this. It only takes a few minutes, and if you leave it in there too long, it's going to start to darken and smell funny. So you want to just stand around and watch it and see all of the powdery bits are gone. So that means we can take it out. It's good to have a spatula so you don't burn yourself. You don't do like I do and get really excited about it and go ahead and touch it. So it looks like it wasn't quite enough to fill the entire bezel. We've got a few spots right at the edges that need to fill in. So we're just going to add a little bit more. You can pretty much reheat as needed with the Amazing Glaze. I've even dropped it on the floor before and had it crack and just stuck it back in the oven. When you are pouring, if you're doing it over what you're planning on putting in the oven, you want to make sure that this loose bits, like what fell out, are not there, because if it melts and your piece is on top of it, it's going to end up being stuck to melted plastic. But since we were doing it on cardboard, it's fine. So we're going to put it back in, give it a few more minutes, and that should fill in our gaps. Okay, it's been a few more minutes, and this time, I think, it's nice and filled in and even. How lovely is that? Instant gratification. So as soon as this cools enough to touch, don't forget to let it do that, then you're good to go with Amazing Glaze. It's not going to give you as clear and hard a finish as an epoxy resin, but it is great for making quick gifts. It's also a good project with kids. So that's how Amazing Glaze works. The next type of resin I'm going to do a sample for is the Diamond Glaze. It's actually more of a dimensional adhesive. So I'm going to show you what it looks like sealed and unsealed. And this is Diamond Glaze. It's water-based, and it also tends to react with brass and copper and will tint blue. So that's why I'm going to show you the difference between sealed and unsealed. So to get started, we're going to treat them the same way. I'm going to take the paper out of the little bezels. And you never want to shake Diamond Glaze because you'll just get bubbles in it, and that is no good. And I'm just going to squirt a little in each bezel. And just with a little soft bristle brush, I'm going to spread that out. And this is the one that I'm going to seal. So not only am I going to make sure I get it over the whole bottom of the bezel, I'm going to make sure I come up on the sides. Basically, we want to get a thin layer all over the metal, anywhere that our additional diamond glaze might be touching. Any tinting's not going to matter in such a thin layer, so that's why I'm sealing it with a thin layer first. And then I can go ahead and put my paper sample. Just press it into all the corners. And then I'm going to go ahead and just paint a thin layer on top of the one that I'm going to seal. So that one's done for now. We're going to let it dry completely before I fill with diamond glaze. This one, I'm going to show you what it looks like if you don't seal it. I'm just going to spread it in the bezel, just enough to get my paper stuck in there. And this one I'm going to go ahead and fill with diamond glaze. So what I usually do, like I said, you don't want to shake it first, even though it seems like you would with a liquid. I usually squirt just a little bit out, get it started flowing so I don't get a bubble. And then I'm just going to begin to fill the bezel. And I'm going to do just enough to get a thin layer going in there. And I've got a few little bubbles. You can gently pop them with a finger. Or sometimes I'll just use a little bit of wire. And it's okay if you get diamond glaze on you, it's water-based. So I'm going to leave this guy to dry, and we'll come back to both of them later. It's been just a little while, and this is the one I had sealed, the diamond glaze bezel that I had sealed, and you can see, if I tilt it, you can see the shiny surface that the diamond glaze left. So it's completely dry. Remember, I sealed up on the edges too. So now I'm going to fill this one like we did the unsealed one. So I'm just squirting out a thin layer. And I try to keep the tip in contact with all the other glaze that's in there. And I believe that's the first time I've never had any bubbles. How exciting! So we're going to let this one set up as well, and then I can show you the difference between having one that's sealed and having one that's unsealed. I've given both my samples time to dry now that they've both been filled, And you can tell a slight difference. You can see there is a little blue around the edges with the unsealed diamond glaze sample. So that's our difference, and that just shows you how diamond glaze works. Gives you a nice shiny finish. My last resin sample is our ecopoxycraftresin, which is a 2-part epoxy. And this one's got a nice variable range on the mix. You can do anywhere from 2:1 to 4:1, depending on how much doming you want to do. So we've got hardener and resin. I'm just going to do a 2:1 since I just want to do a thin layer and cover some paper. And the way we're going to mix this up is, like I said, we're going to do 2:1. So I'm going to do drams just because that's what's on this side of the measuring cup. So I'll do 1 dram of the hardener. When I say 2:1, that's resin to hardener. So there's 1 of our hardener. I'm going to do 2 of our resin. So I'm mixing up each part individually. This is the resin. And you kind of cut in and fold it to mix it. And I've got a few bubbles, but those will come out. I'm going to do the hardener too. And after I've mixed each a little, then pour them together. I'm going to use that same folding motion. And once you've mixed resin and hardener together, it is a chemical reaction that makes it start becoming the hard plastic. So you might notice it gets warm, which is perfectly normal. So you're going to stir it up until it starts to look uniform. And this particular epoxy resin gives you a long working time. You've got about 60 minutes on a 2:1 ratio. So it's actually kind of nice to let it sit a little bit after you've mixed it. It'll be a little easier to work with. So I'm going to let this sit for 10 or 15 minutes, and then I'm going to show you how to put it in the bezel. It's been about 15 minutes, and my ecopoxy has taken on this nice clear color. All the bubbles have kind of risen out of it, and it's warm to the touch because it's doing its thing. So I'm ready to fill my bezel and put my picture in. And we found, since some water-based glues don't do very well with the ecopoxy, it doesn't necessarily want to set up. We found that it's nice just to use the resin to put your picture in. So I'm just going to take a little soft-haired brush and do a thin layer of the ecopoxy craft resin. And I'll put our paper in there. It's the same as you did with the diamond glaze. You just want to make sure all the little parts are pushed down. And then I'm just going to paint a thin amount of the resin over the picture. This is just to help make sure it's stuck down. I don't have any bubbles underneath. The thicker your paper, the less you have to worry about what bubbles look like underneath. When you have really thin paper, it can really show if you have a bubble trapped under it. Okay. So I've kind of got my picture stuck down. So now I'm going to gently fill the bezel, and I found if it's a shallow bezel like this, it's nice to just use your craft stick that you use to stir it to help control it. So that's just going to kind of fill the space. And this is going to give a great hard glassy finish when it's set up. It takes up to 24 hours to set up. We're going to leave this somewhere clean and safe where somebody won't touch it, or an animal, pet that won't shed hair or step in it, and let that set up. It's actually been several hours now. Like I said, it can take up to 24 for your ecopoxy to set up, but you'll see it's got a nice glassy finish now, and it's all hard and ready to go. It's nice and clear, and like I said, this one is going to have the hardest finish of any of our resins. It's going to be very similar to like a really hard plastic, and it is going to be the clearest.